and it was ridiculous. Can you make any sense of it?
Well, it looked like Invictus Gaming were actually going to win, which you think about historically, these two teams, IG doesn't have the most favorited track record there.
No.
They're 7-0 for this split.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, for this year. I believe that the first time that IG was able to take down EDG, it was actually very early of last year, and before then it just never happened. Of course, then this is a rematch of the playoffs in which EDG 3-0'd IG, so no matter how strong they look, we should have just gone back to the stats. It's okay, yeah. EDG has this. Yeah,
it sort of just makes sense, okay? You think, oh, okay, IG might win, but no. When in doubt, understand that they haven't won a game all year, and it's probably not going to happen now. But we are into Champion Select. Of course, IG might be able to take this one. Who knows? Of course, Amazing J now on the lineup here for EDG. They've switched out Qiao. They've said, yep, you were a tree last game. We want Amazing J in for this one. And that might mean that they might be looking to pick away a horse. Of course, Amazing J, a fantastic horse player himself. The Hecarim there in the top lane. It is going to be the LeBlanc and the Narband away from IG, though. And Qiao's not going to see Gragas for quite some time, I could imagine.
Amazing on that champion. I doubt that he'll ever get it. He's just too powerful to have on such versatility and tankiness and damage, frankly. Gragas, triple threat across the board. I want to talk really quickly about the difference between Qiao and Amazing J, because obviously it does change the dynamic of this team. And even the fact that Qiao is a very well-rounded top laner, he pretty much does everything. He can play that carry, he can play the roles and the tanks and meta and things like that. It's so hard to take the place of Amazing J. He's just a hard carry. I would say probably if you were going to make North American analogies, Zion Spartan-esque type of top laner.
Yeah. I actually loved watching Energy Pacemaker last split as well, of course, with Amazing J there in the top lane doing that. I know, people don't say that. Of course, I was a Gamty fan. I'm going to admit that now. I just loved Sync Dream doing weird stuff. So when like Energy Pacemaker came out with their very early Dragon strategy with a dead Scion, I'm sorry, I just loved it.
Sold.
Yeah, Kalista going to be banned away again here. EDG going to take that one off the board. Kid not going to see that. Urgot hitting the bench. And once again, a whole lot of extra stuff is now available for both of these sides. We'll see what EDG do put priority on, as IG do have their opportunity to take away potentially a Sivir for the first pick like EDG did. But Zatai decides that it's the Hecarim that's a little bit more important, and leaving that to Amazing J is also terrifying, so make sure you snap that one up when you can.
And I'm glad that you brought up that point. We talked about before the match how Fizz was going to be the big priority pick, and we were hyping that one up, but when Amazing J is in the game, you either have to ban Hecarim or you have to pick it. He was one of the first top laners to debut the top Hecarim, especially with the teleport smite, is absolutely devastating on that. And again, yeah, Qiao can play Hecarim, a fantastic Hecarim. We saw that at MSI, but it's just very different from everything that Amazing J can offer as far as split put top lane pressure.
And Amazing J just plays so weirdly as well. Of course, he was, as far as being a Gnar player, he looked most impressive when he was in mini Gnar, which is not what we say about a lot of these Gnars, but in the end it is going to be Deft locking away the Sivir. They are going to pick up the Alistar here as well for Mako, so another playmaking support in the hands of EDG. But IG now able to pick up what they feel like grabbing. Of course, the bottom lane does stand out as far as making sure they keep as much hidden away from EDG that they can, but we'll see what they decide to go with. Still some power picks on the board here, of course. Wasn't going to mention Riven when I mentioned that, but...
Were you going to mention Katarina?
Most definitely was. Pick it away from Pawn, of course. Definitely a power pick for him. It's weird, because that's almost true.
With Alistar picked up, I would be shocked if that Nautilus didn't go through. It's kind of been the, like the Cassiopeia Azir, it's the Alistar Nautilus is kind of the other answer as far as tanky champions are concerned, but there we go.
Yeah, and Rookie doesn't lock in the Yasuo either. I'm so upset.
He has time, he has time.
Yeah, Kid instead is going to pick up the Jinx. They could pick it in the next round, you're exactly right. Of course, Depth Charge, guaranteed knockup, potential extra knockups. Makes a whole lot of sense, but Kid going to take away the Jinx into the Sivir, so very good matchup, but Deft is now hovering the Yasuo, and Pawn's just locked in Fizz. He doesn't really mind.
Well, the question is still there. Is Pawn going to play Fizz? It is a favorite champion of his, or is it going to go in the hands of Amazing J?
The flex pick of all flex picks. Is Clearlove going to play it, and we're going to have a support Nunu? Who knows?
The fact
that's not going to happen.
That Fizz is a flex pick tilts me. I'm actually tilted right now.
Well, hopefully we're going to be able to get through the cast just fine with a tilted co-caster. IG now considering what they want in the jungle. They do have mid lane pick to grab as well. Oh man, I would love to see the Nocturne, of course. Qiao on Nocturne. So much damage. It's wonderful. But Rookie thinking about heading back to the Orianna. He had some incredible highlight plays against I believe it was Vici Gaming in their last little matchup, and of course flashing over walls, picking up carries out of nowhere. It was fantastic to see. But it is the Nocturne.
Yeah, it is the Qiao Nocturne. That's one of his signature champions. And let's talk about the fact that, again, we can't talk about Qiao and Rookie without talking about them together as a unit. This is a throwback to, what was the finals? KT versus Samsung, I believe?
Yes.
Yes, and it was the...
Was it blue or white? That was the question. I think it was blue.
Hachani, the support, he played Zillion, and there was a fantastic... To win the game, and it was an absurd game, Qiao ulted on Nocturne, and in the duration of the travel of his ult, Rookie shockwaved and picked off Zillion, and it gave them a free Baron. This combo was fantastic when they played it for the KT era, so I'm very excited to see Qiao on his signature champion for this game, and alongside Rookie's Orianna.
Well, Pawn's decision, as far as taking into the Orianna, is going to be the Lulu, so trying to neutralize the lane there a little bit, making sure that they have the biggest deft possible, what with Blood Boil, and of course the Wild Growth, potential Whimsies to come through on top of that Sivir, really buff deft up in order to get things done. But Amazing J, it's not going to be the Cinder Hulk Fizz in the top lane, it's going to be the Teleport Ignite Fizz in the top lane for extra damages.
Could still go. No, he won't. We'll see what he decides.
So.
We'll see what he decides to itemize up there if he does go for a more traditional tanky Fizz, Cinder Hulk or not, or if he decides to go more of the on-hit effect AD or AP Fizz, because we've seen so many different variations of this build. The thing that I really want to point out as far as the compositions are concerned, however, is the multiple damage threats across every single champion on the side of Invictus Gaming, which is very true to the KT and IG roots historically being that really aggressive team. Whereas again, from EDG, you're sacrificing your hypercarry potential from Deft, picking up that Sivir to allow more team fight utility. And frankly, if there's anything that you can take away from the last game, it's that IG were great in their small skirmishes and the rotational play keeping up with EDG, but in a straight 5v5, EDG just dismantled them.
Yeah, and as far as the engage was concerned, that was where EDG was really looking fantastic. So up front, making sure that they all were together as a team when the fight first broke out, that was where they excelled. But when things got a bit sloppy, when Zatai wasn't dead halfway through a team fight, IG just took over. So as soon as EDG managed to get the initiations right, things are looking okay. But now with this comp, I mean, you're exactly right. IG just have so many damage threats that they might be able to just wait out what is going to be the fantastic engage from EDG almost inevitably, and then just kill them with superior damage. Who knows what can happen here, because of course they're so reliant on Deft's damage. Because with Lulu and Nuno, I mean, you're not going to get much damage from there, but on the other hand, Orianna and Nocturne definitely going to be tearing people apart.
It's all about Amazing J. Anytime he's in the game, he is going to be the focal point, even on EDG, where Deft has historically been their carry there. And I'm glad that you used the word sloppy when discussing kind of the team fights that when they really broke down, it was kind of every man for himself. And that's where Invictus thrive. They're really good at pulling the trigger and playing a very reactionary style. And they have so many damage threats that if things do devolve into kind of this chaotic mess, and every champion is for themselves, they've got damage threats on their side.
Comfortable in chaos is Invictus Gaming, and it's been sort of their MO for a very, very long time. Of course, PDD in the top lane, remember forever. Of course, the Ghost Blades, I love it. As soon as anyone builds a Ghost Blade on an Invictus lineup, I just get very, very excited.
Bloodthirster Renekton.
Oh, yeah. It's just brilliant stuff.
First guy to bring out the Hurricane Kale as well in the top lane.
Really?
Yep, full damage, Hurricane Kale from PDD. And that's the nice thing about Invictus Gaming. We talked about how a lot of the most recent LPL rosters have even been changed up, especially as we say EDG just won MSI. What do? They immediately bench a couple of their members and start a rotating roster, which typically isn't normal. You say one MSI, keep the same roster, but IG have stayed consistent. They also have 2 legacy players on the roster in the form of their AD carry Kid and their top laner former mid laner Zatai.
Yeah, of course, Zatai has been everywhere. But this guy, one thing I do want to mention is the fact that Zatai sort of went from this, I don't know, really random player. I mean, I know it's weird to use random in this sort of sense, but
very
it's exactly what he plays when he was playing in the mid lane. But since moving to the top lane, he's been still very chaotic in his style, but he's really improved as far as making sure he has control of his lanes and able to systematically destroy his top lane opponent. He's been a very, very tough force to get through in that top lane.
It's big props to Zatai. I think you're actually correct. Obviously, it's a role swap. And think of how many role swaps have actually gone correctly for League of Legends. It's very rare that that does work off. Of course, in LCK, we now have role swaps from mid to jungle with Ambition and players like that. But to make this successful, and then in LPL, when it's so front-loaded with all the top lane talent that flooded in, the fact that he's moving from mid to top, quickly learning, and he's competing against the likes of Acorn, Flame, Flandre. I mean, those are some of the best top laners in the world, so competition is...
Not to mention Insec now in the top lane.
Not to mention Amazing J.
Yep. And Amazing J, of course, that's the fun thing about this game, actually. The fact that they swapped out Koro for Amazing J is they've got the wild cards really butting heads in this one. And I really hope that we actually do get standard lanes, because I want to see Amazing J versus Zatai, because I can imagine this is just going to go very, very strangely.
They have very similar styles. If I was going to pick a top laner that could not I don't want to say stand toe-to-toe with Amazing J, but kind of keep up with the wacky quirkiness of his style, it's definitely Zatai, just because he is that, how do they describe it? When talking about Zatai's champion pool, they said it's not a champion pool, it's a champion ocean, and there's Lux sharks with lasers. That's an actual quote. I didn't just make that up. The people have actually said that about him.
I would have claimed that as your own, though. That's a really good quote.
Froskin in 2015.
Yep, nailed it. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Sharks with lasers.
He's played Renekton mid. Yeah, I remember that against Young Glory.
Yeah, he's also played Rek'Sai top, and that was very recent. And
I like the Rek'Sai top. I'll defend that.
Oh, really? What do you like about Rek'Sai top,
the beauty about Rek'Sai top... Sorry.
Well, we're not going to hear about it. Let's hop into the game. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Invictus Gaming taking on Edward Gaming. And we are going to hear about Froskeren's thoughts on Rek'Sai top. But first, let's get into the game as we list lazily across the red side of the Rift. Players are actually just hanging out here in the river. Nothing going down just yet, as Amazing J is the yellow Fizz in the top lane against Zatai on this Hecker. And we've seen this matchup actually go very well for Fizz, but we'll see how it works out. As EDG just going to face check this one aggressively. There's the pulverizers. Kitty's going to get Glitter Lance there as well. Nice little ricochet for some extra damage, but IG able to disengage, and EDG already deciding to pull the trigger early on.
Now, last game, EDG made the lane swap with the Sivir. Of course, they had Annie as the support. This time around, it's Alistar. And so what they're doing is they set up in a 5-point. And what a 5-point is you cover all 5 entrances of the jungle, and it's kind of like a safety net. But if you show bottom placing that ward, then the enemy team assumes that, hey, we just saw Sivir and Alistar, it's going to be a 2v2 in the bot side. Nope, surprise, they back, they run immediately to the top lane. You should see them kind of hug this wall just in case some stray wards got set up behind to check for a lane swap. The question now is, what is Mako going to do? Because Alistar doesn't really gain a lot in being in a 2v1. He doesn't have much tower pressure as far as being able to push that. He's much more about the roam. Now, it's free to allow Def to sit up there and, again, quickly farm to that Sivir level 6 so she can use her ultimate quicker into a team fight. But where is Mako going to go?
Well, it does seem like Mako is going to go to the blue buff, as the Wolf Spirit is going to spot him out.
I think I've seen this before.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see whether the Qiao is going to give him just as much, as Zatai is able to lock down the Wolves. Mako notices that they're gone, as Quillup's going to take away his own blue buff.
He's having PTSD. He's waiting for the Annie to flash ignite him.
Oh my goodness, running immediately through the turret. It's like, no, 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 no. Not happening this time around. Rookie, bit of pressure here in the mid lane, able to get some harass damage down onto Pawn, but he's a Lulu. Not going to be in too much trouble of dying level 1 this time around. As now it's in fact Kitty's turn to try and roam into this jungle, but notices that the Gromp is still in fact there. And Qiao considering destroying a Scuttle Crab, or maybe even a level 2 dragon. What are they doing down there?
It looks like they're going for the very early dragon. That said, Quillup has now moved into IG's blue side jungle, and likewise, Deft is building up the wave to push onto the tower. So they should know that this is going down and then quickly make a rotation into the top lane to apply pressure into trade objectives.
Well, Qiao may just get 3 buff here at the same time. The red buff still available on the side of EDG, and of course they've already taken down the blue. They're going to take the Gromp here as well, and Qiao's going to have to move very quickly if he wants to pick up a second buff. It's not going to be a blue one, as both of them are dead, and looks like it is going to be the 3 buff start here for the Nunu. Clearlove able to control that jungle very well. Of course, it is a thing that Nunu is going to do, so it's not necessarily something that IG are going to be too surprised about, but Amazing J able to come around here and pick up some extra farm for himself too.
But it is fairly punishing. Not necessarily that he lost the blue buff, but he lost the experience.
Yeah.
Nocturne doesn't have a ton of gank potential until he is level 6. It's not like Sejuani where you do have tools as far as creative pathing is concerned, going over walls and having the displacement knock-up available to you. He needs that paranoia.
Yeah, and actually was hanging around that wolf camp. It is going to respawn. So Qiao going to be able to pick up that camp, make sure that he can get a little bit more experience from that, but wasted a fair bit of time. Amazing J and Clearlove just continuing the buddy system as EDG push down the top lane out of turret, and that's going to fall very quickly in this game.
It just points out that Invictus lost track of where Clearlove was. The fact that Qiao was waiting around the wolf pit trying to figure out if they're going to come around the corner, he could quickly make his escape there. The fact that when Zatai approached the lane, warding over the Gromp and being very careful, he didn't want to walk into a trap. Yeah. Maybe Clearlove or Coral were, Amazing J were standing in that tri-brush. So miscommunication from ING and success for the day for EDG because they're able to get a free tower.
Yeah, and Rookie getting some dissonance damage there on Dupont as the command attack going to do some work there on the way back. Rookie holding onto a bit of mana, but not too much. Both of these mid laners with their cookies, though. Or biscuits. I prefer to say cookies. We are going to be able to eat them up with some extra mana and some health, but not too worried about too much overly aggressive action here in the mid lane as Amazing J heading towards the top, wants to try and at least even out these lanes. And both these top laners now with even farm, both the same level as well. And it's interesting that we see sort of the top laners both at the same point after this lane swap. Normally you have sort of one ahead, one not, both of them with nothing. But so far, they've done fine.
Primary difference is where you have your safety net. So obviously there was a tower trade, IG for EDG, but bottom to top. Now, Zatai is very far forward in his lane, but it's not as punishing because he is the Hecarim. He does have that devastating charge available to him, and sooner or later he's going to have the Onslaught of Shadows as well, just to make it so running that far back to his own safety of tier 2 isn't quite as devastating likewise. Clearlove understands this, knows that Qiao will be possibly playing to that side just to offer more protection. The fact that Zatai doesn't have a tower there and had some deep wards on Qiao to spot him out.
Yeah, so they've got the deep vision down. The Gromp is going to be taken here from Qiao, who's level 3. Clearlove also still at level 3, probably going to get 4 from the Raptor, which he is going to there. And Kitty's hanging around here just trying to stop EDG from getting too much down. But now that level 5's been hit, Avarice Blade actually for Kid. And is this a complete sacrifice of lane pressure?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's just about farming and building up to Jinx. She's really going to get her power spike on 3 items typically for an AD carry, although she will find a decent one, the fact that she's going Static Shiv. And I really like the Static Shiv versus the Phantom Dancer on Jinx just because her Get Excited passive, the fact that she gets a movement speed bonus and Static Shiv procs through movement speed.
True.
You just proc that many more Shiv procs. So on Get Excited, if you're clicking through it, you can get like 3 static Shiv procs, as opposed to just waiting for the crit on Phantom Dancer.
You can run through stuff. So normally when I'm playing Jinx, I get excited and then I can't get through the wave of minions that I'm fighting in, so I just end up not doing anything. As the Flash Pulverizer onto Kitty's back into the Tri-Brush as well. He's got exhausted, will need to flash away, is going to there as Kid with a lot of follow-up damage. The Chompers locking down EDG, and look at this AoE from Kid. Deft, no mana left, but not quite the kills locked down. But man, that looked like it could have been horrible. And if Kid had a BF sword instead of the Avarice Blade, maybe things would have been different. Of course, very different gold amount, so it's probably not, wouldn't have even been possible anyway.
It was also a really good setup of Kid's Chompers and a choke point like that to really stall EDG from chasing Mako effectively, Kitty's effectively, and the fact that it was Kitty's who got cut out on this Nautilus. It's so tanky, has the dredge line, has the shield, making a quick getaway.
Yeah, Kid hanging around down here, and I do like what you say about the Static Shiv. Of course, getting a little bit of extra damage. I always thought that just...
See, it tells me that you're kind of a coward Jinx
player
if you just want to run away.
I'm a player of League of Legends, to be honest. So
Static Shiv's all about running forward and doing damage and getting those procs. Phantom Dancer's like, I want to get excited to run through the minions to get...
Do you do coaching?
I
maybe
think
learn how to do more damage in League of Legends,
maybe...
Or am I too far gone? Because if that's the case, just don't say anything.
Anyway.
Brilliant. There it is. Answered for me. Clearlove is looking for a gank here on the bottom side. Teleport in as well. The Chompers come down. Deft still going to get locked up, but Kitties, he's going to die for that one. Sivir going to pick up the kill. Deft already beginning his onslaught in this game, and first blood going to Deft is not good news for IG fans.
Both teleports used, they will not be available for the Dragon coming up, which, I mean, obviously it's always nice to get the first blood onto your AD carry and get the ball rolling there, especially against Jinx, because she needs those 3 items before she can really become that late game hyper-scaling threat. But more important is that TP cooldown and how EDG and Invictus will set up and kind of compensate for that, especially because it is a Hecarim. He's so powerful to the Dragon fights using a early home guard TP advantage, and that just won't be available for this scene.
Yeah, and Rookie probably wanted to be able to put the ball on top of Hecarim as well, really get these fights going. You can, Onslaught of Shadows, you're unstoppable. You're always going to know where that shockwave's going to be going off. It would have been a controlled method, but now might need to rely on the paranoia from Qiao, maybe even with the sweet alley-oop play where you throw the ball to him as he's floating past you. Man, I love that one.
If anyone's going to pull it off, it's Rookie and Qiao.
That's exactly right.
The magic of friendship.
The power of friendship, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's going to win them this game.
We do have first stages of itemization coming out, the Athene's Holy Grail on both Orianna and Lulu. Now, the question is going to be, where is Pawn going to go as far as his itemization? Now, I like to say that there's 2 different types of items. Oh, hold on.
Okay, Amazing J has fifth Zatai. Zatai, of course, with the ultimate, could potentially throw that one down. Just Amazing J things, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't even use the ult. And he's down to about 300 health, but he is going to be safe. Clearlove looking around for something. Zatai is going to be able to head back to base safely. Amazing J just putting the pressure on.
Back to my point about Lulu's Athenes.
Yes, continue.
Okay, so I think that there's 2 different types of Lulu builds. There's flat AP, which obviously is going to be a more defensive build because obviously then you're just adding the defensive stats. I'm trying to think of a different word for this. You're adding more more protection from your shield, and your wild growth is going to give you more health and the shields.
Based,
there we go. Utility to your wild growth and your not whimsy shield.
Yeah.
Help picks. I got it? I'm not a caster. Whereas if you go the Void Staff, so it's like the Faker build. So Faker does like Lichbane Void Staff, where he just wants to murder people with Lulu, which is utterly terrifying. Because she's like, whimsy! Mass murder!
Yeah, it's tasted purple, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so here's the question. I get it. Is Pawn going to mimic Faker and forever live in his shadow?
Oh.
Or is he going to be his own man and build a flat AP Lulu and buff up his Sivir, who doesn't hyperscale into late game?
I just want him to copy the Xiaohu Lulu, who decides to go with, the utility build, but then
challenger has approach with Lulu builds?
Oh, man, I love it. Honestly, you know, Xiaohu, of course, ex-Gamty player, so maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I just like how he does it.
Star King Gamty Club.
Star King Gamty. Oh my goodness. The fact that we had those 3 teams just earlier on last week was a whole lot of fun, even though it was only 2 teams on the Rift. It was 3 in my heart. Amazing J able to clear out this top wave though, and he did end up picking up the Smite, by the way. You're exactly right. Switched it over from the Ignite at the last second, so that Cinderhulk is going to be coming down. Does have a cloth armor there, and this is where we're going to differentiate the Amazing J build from the Zatai build, is whether or not he goes for either the Glacial Shroud into the Frozen Heart, or whether he picks up those Lucidity boots. And what is your opinion on the way to build this top tanky Fizz with the Cinderhulk? At
this point, because Dragon's on the table, he needs to look at his resistances as opposed to his CDR. But the thing that we were talking about in Champion Select, which is really unique with Fizz, is his damage aversion going with CDR, because again, he's able to spend more time up in the air on top of his pole. So it's almost like a superficial tankiness or a pseudo-tankiness that CDR allows him just because of that ability. So I would assume that he would go straight for more resistances, especially because a big team fight or a stage is being set for a possible team fight, and the fact that Dragon has been up for a very long time.
Are EDG going to be looking to team fight as well with the comp that they have? Of course, they are going to be confident being EDG just in general, but has this comp got to a point where they can sort of power up this Sivir to carry them through?
Yes, they're pretty much at their power point that they have the Sivir ultimate available for them. Hold on though, looks like we are looking for engagement.
Depth charge coming through there. There's the shockwave onto 3 members. Pawn gets taken down super low. Rookie gets exhausted, but it's not enough as Deft also cops one at the same time. Kid looking for something here as the Dissonance going to charge him up. EDG able to try and disengage from this one. And Mako is going to make it underneath his turret, but IG able to answer with 1 kill. After the Dragon was taken down. And in amongst all of that chaos, I'm not entirely sure who took it.
It's also very important, though, that IG are going to get a push into this mid lane, and the fact that it is a Jinx means that this tower is for sure going to go down. So it's 1 kill and a tower for a Dragon. Now, EDG obviously weren't going to look for the team fight there just because they kept Amazing J into that side lane, and this is why I wanted to talk about the difference between Koro and Amazing J and what it means for the identity of EDG. They're very good at team fighting. Not that Amazing J can't team fight, but it's just not in his MO. He's more of that split-pushing, very creative skirmish style of top laner, and now we're starting to see the true differences. If this was Koro on EDG, first of all, that would probably be a Maokai, and they would have looked immediately for that 5v5.
Yeah, and they would have tried to engage it themselves, maybe even let IG actually start off that Dragon, but this time around, they are going to lose a couple of members. They are going to try and sacrifice some health on Deft to try and get some extra auto attacks on this turret, but they're not going to be able to take it down. Clearlove being a menace, trying to steal away a buff. But it seems like IG with the numbers advantage might be able to stop this one. He's pretty quick, and Mako's making his way around. There's the headbutt pulverized onto Kitties as Amazing J finds his way in. The fish is down as well. Super Mega Death Rocket comes through, but not going to do too much there at all as Amazing J now looking to try and pick up some more. There's the Tether of the Fear as Shockwave going to pull Clearlove in, but misses the Fizz by mere inches. And did Rookie get that blue buff? So Shockwave got a blue buff?
I'm trying to get a read on Clearlove if he has it or not. No, Rookie didn't get it.
Oh, okay.
Because his timer's almost out.
Okay, got it. Clearlove didn't either. Amazing J got it with an Urchin Strike.
Yep, thanks.
MVP Fizz. There it is.
The Oscar Fizz.
He's doing well. Certainly doing well. Amazing. Zatai, though, he's going to clear out some minions here on the top lane. Let Amazing J get shoved into the turret. That top lane outer turret is still up here for EDG, of course, so Amazing J going to be more than safe.
We see this a lot from EDG, though. They're very good at rotating their vision around. Again, we talked about how Chinese teams are starting to get more matured in their vision control. So again, Dragon goes down on the bottom side of the map. Where do they immediately go? They look to the top side, and they actually make a play on Invictus Gaming's top side blue buff. So indicative of that, look at all the vision that's been placed onto that side. It's going to be curious. The mid-tier tower, first tower, is going to give them the most control. It should be their priority objective of taking that down first. But then from there, they should continue to rotate into this top side of the map, applying deep vision there and playing to the top side while they don't have to juggle Dragon control at the time. So they kind of have like a 6-minute window to just continually make those plays on top side and mid.
So let me just theorize just for one moment.
And that's why Amazing J is going bottom.
Yeah.
Because he's got the teleport, and so now they're going to move their top laner to the bottom side and play to the top side of the map.
Oh, look at that. Don't you love it when your point gets proven right after you say it?
It all just comes full circle. Oh, continue.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, I was just going to say something pretty silly, or just something that I'm excited about, is the fact that Qiao's picking up what looks to be a Black Cleaver. And I just think it's genius, just considering the fact that Rookie's going to be so devastating in the late game. EDG have to itemize for that magic resist if they are going to stand up towards the likes of the shockwaves that are going to be coming down. But if Qiao gets the Umbra Blades off in the back line and manages to hit multiple people, he's going to be shredding the armor of them. And Kid is going to wreck everyone. It will be disgusting. So I just want to see whether it actually happens, whether Qiao can stay alive for long enough to get some of this shred happening.
The assassination potential has always been there with Nocturne. Be very curious how safely he can dive into the backline. So obviously the strength there is when Clearlove goes to step forward and to make that big separation of team fights that he likes to do on Nunu. Yeah. That's not going to count for Nocturne. That said, diving onto Sivir with Lulu, I mean, it's pretty much a perfect answer. If Nocturne jumps back onto Deft, Punch is going to press R. Try killing that.
And that's why it's sort of a genius last pick here as well from Pawn, of course. This IG lineup
was all put together. An immediate answer to the assassination, yeah.
So Pawn decides, okay, well, I guess I'll be playing Lulu here. And as you mentioned, doing his best Faker impression.
Dragon will be spawning in the next minute, so we should see both teams back and start to set up for this. Of course, right now, EDG in control of the Scuttle Crab. That will not be available to them once the Dragon actually spawns. It'll time out.
Yeah, so only a minute up on that one, of course. Scuttle Crab not around for too long.
Amazing J should be prepping the wave right now. He just did cancel his back. What I assume he'll do is he'll set up a slow push or he'll push this all the way out. That said, Zatai is in perfect position to answer it back. But really what he's looking to do is I want to make a pressure point and be really obnoxious and set and prep my waves because it's part of prepping for an objective. So what a lot of teams will do is they'll just set, oh, you know, Dragon's about to come up. I just need to move into the area and ward it. Oh, they're slapping each other.
Try and kill Zatai. The
Murder
Skirmisher
him.
Saber is down there. Oh, dodges the devastating charge. There's the ult though as Zatai trying to get him back, but Amazing J just one auto attack and pops him. No problem.
Or he'll just murder the top laner.
Yeah. Setting up a slow push via killing the horse.
That's an advanced technique.
Yeah, it is an advanced technique. Amazing J, of course, one step ahead of the curve generally for Oscar, and that's just how he works and how you've explained him to everyone.
But the beauty of it is by prepping your waves before you approach an objective, that means when you approach this, so when Invictus Gaming approach this dragon fight, even if they win, it's not like they can immediately translate their pressure into an objective. If all of the waves are pushed onto them, yes, we won the dragon fight, but then we have to immediately go and clear our waves as opposed to transitioning this momentum into even more objectives like a tower.
And it looks like this wave actually going to get cleared up here. And IG just going to keep pushing out the bottom lane. And EDG now setting up around the dragon. We'll see whether they are going to be able to secure themselves a second one relatively easily.
The slow push top. Like a fine wine.
Mademoiselle, etc., etc. Teleport available from Zatai, though. Doesn't quite have the home guards available just yet. He's going to teleport in here as... Yep, EDG kill the dragon and leave.
That was the most unsatisfying teleport.
Yeah, semi-anticlimactic, I believe.
An elderly bound wheelchair person moved faster than that Hecarim.
Boots one Hecarim, ladies and gentlemen.
A gentle trot towards the enemy team.
This isn't dressage, Zatai.
Oh,
what
and
are
they're
you thinking?
completely out of position. Looking for the flank.
Yep, Super Mega Death Rocket not going to do anything. This kitty's... Yep, dredge lines into possibly his death. Gets polymorphed up there, headbutted back in. There's the two-man shockwave, though, as Paranoia is coming through. We'll see where the rookie, Qiao trying to make a position there, but gets fished. Deft picks up the kill. Amazing J now trying to get some work done.
Oh, no.
Kid's going to get headbutted back into the team. Snowballs there as well, and EDG's team fight, even with Amazing J, look at him, still alive somehow. Mako might die as a consolation prize for Zatai, but he's going to fall down in the end, and EDG, that is a 4-for-1.
And unfortunately, it was all led off by Kitty's dredge lining into a wall. And hey, I don't want to be there, but by dodging the dredge line, he pulls himself into danger, is immediately deleted. But even more important, let's talk about the Lulu pick, because as soon as Qiao, Nocturne, Paranoid back to the back line there, the wild growth came out, deleted from the map.
And there's also the fact that Amazing J just put a fish on top of Deft. And so the special delivery for Qiao was, like you said, deletion. And look, we were talking about the fact that Amazing J, sort of known for his split pushing, not necessarily spending time with the team. At the moment, 100% kill participation. This guy is making stuff happen.
So there we go. There's the spell shield. He didn't actually hit the wall. He hit Deft, goes halfway through, gets immediately deleted. Now this is what's important. When Nocturne, like you said, dives into this back line, there's the fish and there's the wild growth, and there goes Qiao.
Yeah. Didn't really get too much done there. Didn't even have the Black Cleaver available. And look at the headbutt onto Kid. I mean, just too easy there from Mako, who used the whole duration of his ultimate to tank up everything.
And they're really able to catch them in the fact that Clearlove was like, oh yes, I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me. Immediately turns on the new ultimate and slows down Invictus Gaming's escape.
You could say that IG were able to do absolutely zero.
Wow.
Yep. Had to do it. I apologize.
How about those barnyard animals?
How about them animals? There's none left. There's only one available. As Kitty's, he's going to find the cow. He's going to die yet again. Clearlove going to use the ultimate as Zatai's going to have to use the Onslaught of Shadows just to try and escape. Paranoia there as well. Deft almost getting deleted. Wild growth there though, and they are going to be able to lock down the kill. Kid trying to get some auto attack damage off in the back line, but Clearlove being a menace as always. Amazing J comes down to try and help out. Rookie's going to fall, and Fizz says, I can help, ladies and gentlemen, as Kid's going to fall down at the same time. Red buff is going to mean that this is a definitely dead Jinx, and EDG turn around what was looking like a horrible situation.
That was a beautiful shockwave. That was the combo we were talking about, the Nocturne delivery service. It's like Kiki's delivery service except in hell.
Yeah,
it's excellent. That said, there wasn't any follow-up on it. So Nocturne goes in, the shockwave damage comes through, but unfortunately the rest of Invictus Gaming aren't there to follow it up and to make sure it connects. A perfect wild growth comes through for Fawn. The team fight goes to EDG and surely the Baron.
Yeah, and the janitorial Amazing J as well came down as this tanky Fizz monster, still able to do a whole lot of damage, and you can't escape him.
But again, it's the differences between Koro and Amazing J. The fact that Koro is the initiator, he's the zoner, he's the guy that controls everything in front of him. Amazing J, the janitor, the assassin, the sneaky flank.
Really beautiful to see, and of course, EDG seamlessly changing their playstyle to make up for it as well. Pawn is going to complete the Rabbidan's Death Cap, looking to possibly pick up what looks like a Void Staff as his next option. See whether that is going to be it. He could, of course, just grab an Aether Wisp and say, I just want Luden's Echo and be the cool kind of Lulu.
I think a Luden's Echo, again, I'm a big fan of the flat AP.
Yeah.
Because obviously, again, if you're using it as a counter, oh, hold on.
Okay, Pawn looking for Qiao here as he's able to speed himself up.
Oh.
There's the hula hoop. IG are going to have to disengage now. Chomper's going to stop Pawn from getting in there, but Mako looking for something. Doesn't quite get the knock up as there's the absolute zero, but they do lock down Rookie. The face first Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't quite work as Zatai now trying to kill Pawn, but he's pretty fast. And he's got a lot of shields. Headbutt pulverized there as well as Qiao getting chased by Clear Love. That feels horrible. Oh, my consolations for Qiao, and the surrender vote comes through. IG feeling like they couldn't do it, and I'm actually pretty surprised. I mean, I guess there was an 8,000 gold lead, so it's a big deal, but they were still in that. They hadn't broken the base or anything like that on the side of EDG.
I mean, frankly, demoralizing.
Yeah.
Nothing was connecting for Invictus Gaming. This has kind of been the weakness of them in comparison to EDG. Now, it's tough to compare to EDG just because I think that their team fighting is the best in the league right now.